This is me again, wearing a black t-shirt up against a white wall. I think I've seen this several times before. Okay, now 14 states are going to raise their their minimum wage, the state minimum wage in those individual states. You may have heard of this already. Several states across the nation are going to raise their state minimum wage. You have a federal minimum wage level that I guess all states have to conform to, but each individual state have their own minimum wage. And there's a range there of a few dollars between states, $2 to $3. And so it's going to be a significant thing because I don't know if this normally happens in mass. You see a large number of states raising their minimum wages. Some of the states listed here, I'll post a link to an article from the Huffington Post that lists all the states and the amounts. I'll go over a little bit here. You have Alaska, Arkansas, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Hawaii, Massachusetts, Michigan, New York, and a few more here as well. The highest I see here is California and Massachusetts. They're going up to $10 an hour. Alaska's $9.75, Connecticut $9.60. These are all a positive developments. There's a lot of initiatives around the nation for $15 an hour, either on the state level or on a local level, like a city. And I think that's a positive initiative. I read an article today. Apparently, the New York Times had an editorial in support of $15 an hour, raising the minimum wage to that level. And a writer on the news blog Slate was against the $15 initiative because he seems to be concentrating on rural areas where the current minimum wage or a slight increase in the current minimum wage will be doable in those areas. But if you raise the minimum wage to $15, he contends that will negatively affect those local economies, and it will affect low-wage workers because some of them will these current jobs that are paying minimum wage, in order to accommodate the new level, if it ever went up to $15 across the country, they would have to let workers go. So that would be probably the result in a immediate raise or a without any transition, just like it went from $7.25 or $7.50 now to double to $15 an hour. Now the one thing is, it would make low wage work more competitive, and in a lot of those places where you have a low cost of living, it would mean that people would actually be able to not only afford, but maybe to do more than afford. Maybe at the current level, in a very it's really hard. I can't really imagine that many places where the minimum wage is enough to live comfortably on. There may be a few, maybe in the least expensive, the area of the United States with the least cost of living, maybe in rural Mississippi or Alabama or Idaho. There might be some places where you can actually still afford apartments and maybe housing on minimum wage, but I just can't imagine that there's that many places that you can actually do that. So I think that's the one problem with that argument, is that if you only concentrate on the few areas of the country that are very unique as far as their low cost of living, and use that as an argument against $15 an hour, that's just the same as using New York or San Francisco as your argument for $15 an hour. I mean, I think you have to look at the the average, and I think in the average cost of living in the United States, even $15 an hour is a stretch. You know, there are many places that have an average cost of living where if you know, minimum wage is just not cutting it. You cannot survive. You can't purchase apartments. You have to live in shared living circumstances because it's just not enough money. So I think I mean, you have to really look at the average circumstances within the country. And in the average circumstances, $15 an hour will give a lot of workers more options. And I think in the long run, that's the most important thing.